Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. We're here in Alameda, California, with really a cat I've been humbled to meet. In his own way, a beautiful healer, also somebody who is deeply ensconced in the music business as a publisher, and so many other things. Great musician in his own right, Jeffrey Cohen. Welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Do you feel like in your I've always been curious about this. Did you, in your folk days, were you writing songs that were trying to affect social consciousness, or were you just sort of writing about your life?
Yeah, the second really. B.
B, yes.
I just wanted to write anything that seemed like a cool idea, and I was interested in exploring the structure and rhyme structure and all the parts of writing songs, and I think a lot of the songs that I wrote in the beginning were not the greatest, but some of them were pretty good. And the guy, Bruce Good, that I was writing with a lot after I got out here, we would smoke quite a bit and take some available uppers, and we would just sit and write until there was a song. And it was really a lot of fun to do it that way. But, sometimes the songs wound up that every single word had to relate to the next word, had to relate to the next word. We got, the speed got a hold of us.
Right, yeah, that was what I'm saying. Like, that would maybe make it hard to, how long would it take, would you stay up to finish a song?
Hours and hours and hours.
How did you meet Bruce originally? Is he from Ohio too?
Yeah, he is from Ohio. He was in Columbus when I got there to go to school. He was already what we called fringe guys back at that time.
Meaning he was kind of off the grid or going to the beat of his own drum, or
yeah. He was out of school, and he was playing in clubs, and people knew him, and he had almost, I guess you'd say, a following. People who really thought he was a cool guy, and and he was.
Yeah.
He was a very cool guy,
Yeah.
and we got along very well right from the start, and just kind of gravitated in. And when I came out here, he was the first person I hooked up with, and we just had a ball. Started right away writing and playing and having fun.
Can you talk about one of your early tunes that maybe actually turned out to be a jewel looking back on it? I mean, obviously, maybe it didn't get recorded, but
Yeah.
something in your mind. Because I think sometimes you can. I know that when I listen back to some of my early interviews, it's sort of cringeworthy because I'm having a hard time getting stuff out. I'm insecure. I don't really have my voice yet. Basically, the cats helped me find my voice. But sometimes you go back and you're like, wow, I kind of did know what I was doing. I did know. I had my instinct. I just didn't trust my instinct and intuition. So something along those lines with this early songwriting.
Well, maybe kind of, sort of, but we were in between modalities. We weren't exactly folk, and we weren't rock and roll just yet.
There was no word for rock and roll at that time. Right? I mean, I guess there was art. Yeah, there was
rock and roll starting in the 50s. That's
true. But so
still.
you weren't plugged in yet. What do you mean you weren't? How were you not
just
yet rock and roll?
Our songs, they weren't that. We were
I dig.
we were like folky guys with acoustic guitars, and although we had a great love and leaning towards R&B and doo-wop stuff, and our first band was we called it Little Orly and the Blinding Light Choir.
I love it. Sanctified, man.
Yes, sir. And we did a lot of classic R&B tunes, but we weren't really writing them. That I think we just didn't know how yet, or something, or maybe we were too white. 'Cause the songs we were writing were much more folky, and there were a couple that I thought were pretty good. The song you heard those two, Lady Blonde, I thought was a pretty good song altogether.
Talk about that, how that came together in terms of the story.
Well, it's interesting. There were, in most cases, I was writing lyrics and Bruce was writing music, but in that song, he had written the lyric kind of as a poem, and then I wrote music to make it work. So it was separate from a lot of the ways we had worked before, but it I liked it very much.
That's fascinating. So it was not the way you would normally work together.
Right. But it just happened,
You made the joint decision to come to the Bay Area together? Your band was Black
No,
Swan?
no.
You don't
He was already out. He had been out here for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And for me, the decision was, where the hell else am I supposed to be? I dropped out of school. I didn't like it at all. I enjoyed the scene in Columbus, but it just seemed kind of limited and small. And I was having dreams of San Francisco, and I had since I was actually young, since I was a kid. I didn't know it was San Francisco, but I would. It wound up being in a song I wrote for Rick Astley. When I started off, when I was much younger, I had a dream about a city dressed in lights,
Wow.
and everybody I ever met was there, and everybody I continued to meet was there. But I had this scene, and it was San Francisco was just calling me.
So you had visions in your childhood about, you had dreams about a city that,
Yeah.
and you didn't know at the time it was actually San Francisco.
Yeah, I had no idea, of course.
I was just trying to think about like your, in terms of your, you have to give me the Hindi word again for you. Sonya.
Oh, the Sat Nam Rasayan.
Do you look back on your childhood and realize that there were sort of, I don't want to say past lives, but there was a healing thread in your lineage, looking back on it? Because it seems to me like when you connected with your guru, teacher, it was an instantaneous connection. You said, I got this, I know this. So it was already, it was already in your roots. Looking back, was there something similar to, like, because you just talked about the San Francisco thing?
No, I didn't really have, I didn't have the healing component. But what I got when I met him was the spiritual part of it, and connecting with the big picture. And that was something that didn't surprise me at all. It was like, oh yeah, of course. And I had already been psychedelicized by then, so it was familiar ground. But I can't really say that I had that healing vibe as a kid. I did notice very early that I could manifest, that anything I wanted, if I wanted it enough, I got it.
Give an example.
The green bike I was dying for. And
Well,
bam.
but I mean, maybe, and then it showed up somewhere, or your dad brought it home, or
Yeah, my dad brought it home. The camera that I wanted, anything that I wanted, I could manifest just by desire, not by being a nudge.
I did. So that's important though, because
Yeah.
like in terms of our commodified, crazy society, desire generally. I mean, you said when you met your teacher, you discovered the spiritual side and the big picture. Can you go a little bit deeper when you say big picture? because that, I mean, I just think it's important for people. You're not somebody who's, you're a very humble person. So I just think it's important for you to talk a little bit about what changed fundamentally. You were already psychedelicized, but yet you didn't let that desire ultimately go towards greed or.
Well, in a sense, it did. I knew I had to ultimately make enough money to have a family.
Right.
And that was I wasn't like, craving, and I wasn't really doing much to make that happen. As I mentioned before, I stumbled into working for David Rubinson and learning the record business. That wasn't part of my grand plan, but when I hit it, I was like, aha.
Wow,
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Lunch has been served. Did you really stumble into him? He must have been hit.
Yeah.
You went for a tryout, and he just sort of sensed that you were, because the capacity, your responsibilities and your roles with him, wound up to be pretty significant in terms of like the money and and bringing in writers and things like that? I mean, he did not know who Jeffrey Cohen was before you went in for that?
No, not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. Oh, good, you got it. It was.
I mean, David's a brilliant dude. He must
Yes,
have,
he is.
right? I mean,
He
can
is.
you talk a little bit about his legacy? I feel like in some ways, I mean, he's off in France, I think now. I hope I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a minute, and people.
He's actually in the States right now.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic.
He and his wife are on a 6 month.
6 and 6.
Yeah. Okay. Here, have a fish taco.
Oh, thank you. I would love it. Yeah. Such hospitality. Thank you, sir. Can you just talk about what you think David's legacy is to modern American music?
David was a great lover of funk and R&B also, and I thought the amazing work was with the Pointer Sisters.
We didn't talk about that yet. Explain why, because I've always tried to still get my ears around that stuff on Blue Thumb or the Opera House stuff. But go ahead, you riff on it.
The early stuff, they were kind of naturally drawn to that. They loved the old timey songs.
Yeah, that's right.
And they their writing, which was young, also went towards that, and they did some really kind of cool songs in the mode, and he encouraged that, and helped them build a framework for it, and so when they went out originally, they went out in thrift shop clothes, and choreographed, and
Sort of like dance step kind of moves too.
Yeah.
Choreographed stuff.
yeah, but they were like old timey moves. You know, it wasn't
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't the hip dance floor stuff.
No, not at all. They were like, and people were like, "What the fuck is this?"
So I mean, that was kind of David's brain. He wanted to be a throwback thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he totally went with that. And
Let me ask you though, like, one thing I didn't ask you before was, were you somebody like, when you joined the operation, that was a talent scout in some ways? Like, did you help bring people in, like the Pointer Sisters? Maybe?
yeah, we did bring him in. As a matter of fact,
How did you find them?
there was a guy named Michael Takamatsu.
Michael Takamatsu.
Michael
My
Takamatsu.
favorite Korean restaurant in Tucson.
He was a wonderful writer, and we were in the beginning. The first stuff we did with David was go out and look to find writers who were writing cool stuff that we liked and that maybe we thought had a chance to be successful. And our taste was certainly off center because
I love it. That's my taste.
because we were off center.
Totally.
And Michael was one of the writers that we signed, and we were giving him, I don't know, remember $100 a month or something like that, you know, just bare sustenance money, so he could exist. And then he would bring in these songs, and some of them were really, really cool. And he had a couple tunes. One was "Win with Gypsy Jesus," and.
He had no track record before this, or he had written?
No, not at all. He had written some, but there was nothing had happened.
And you just sort of like, how did you find him?
I think he just kind of showed up. As most people
Yeah, just
did.
like your life, yeah.
Yeah, the lights on and people came.
But you dug what he was writing.
Yeah, very much, very much. There are songs I still marvel at how beautifully he
Oh, that's
was
good. I got to
writing.
get hip to some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck finding it.
So it didn't get. This is
No,
just
it
stuff.
never got out there. But we wanted to do a demo with him and something maybe a little more fully realized than him, Gunga Chunga with the guitar. And so we got a little band together, and it was
Gaylord Birch or something, or
no, not
Eddie
David
Marshall, or I don't know. I'm just thinking about those guys in the first.
Well, I'm trying to remember who played drums, and unfortunately, it wasn't either of them.
Oh man,
We did a great later. And Mark and I had a big band song that Gaylord came and played on.
What?
Oh my God, he killed.
Recorded?
Yeah.
What's the name of it? All right, we'll get to it later. It's fine. It's fine. That's so cool. Gaylord was the best drummer, man.
the best drummer and
Ever.
the best person. He was just
He was a good person too. Yeah, I know.
so amazing.
Yeah. Always have like a light, a spark of light.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you
So
brought
we
a band
got a
together.
little band together. I think Harvey Brooks played bass.
Oh.
We grabbed some people that we knew who could play, and Michael said, "Hey, I met these girls. They're sisters, and their father is a preacher, and they're cool. They can sing. We can bring them in, and they can sing backups." I said, "Yes,
Oh,
yeah, bring
man,
them in,
dude.
And they came in. And David loved them from the get-go, and I don't remember the exact chain of events, but they had somehow some bullshit promoter had gotten them out to somewhere in the Midwest, and they were stuck there. And they called. They had David's number, and they called him, and he said, "Here's money. You get on a plane now and come home." And
Okay, so they basically you got hip to them, but some promoter had already been working with them and then stranded them in the Midwest somewhere.
Well, when we got hip to them,
Yeah.
they hadn't done anything. So it was the two of them, which later became three and later became four.
Yeah.
But they came and sang on the demo that we did.
Beautiful,
And
man.
that's what David heard and went, "Oh my God, they're perfect," and he connected with them right away, and they trusted him, and he helped them. He sent them.
But also, don't you think, Brother Rubinson, he was ensconced. This is before you knew him, but you talked about that record he did with Taj, and then also
Amazing records.
Mongo,
Yep.
Mongo, he was never allowed to record the Santeria. I know people hate that word, but his own spiritual music. And David got him in the studio, was able to do that on Columbia. Do you think because funk wasn't in the lexicon at that point.
Is this offensive to eat a taco while we're doing this?
No, it's only going to be seen by thousands of people, but it's fine. Eat your taco.
Watch and learn.
There's
one for you too.
Oh, I'm gonna hit it. Yeah, later. Yeah, it looks absolutely delicious. Do you think that was part of his genius? Was just sort of keeping the blues and the roots. You talked
Yes,
about
he stayed true to the roots.
Even
Definitely.
during you didn't really. Were you spending a lot of time in the studio or not really? You basically were writing, because I would assume if you were. You talk about that because at a certain point in the late '70s, the Automat, places like that, the drum machines became prevalent. Synthesizers became massively prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
This was not roots based at all. This was generated music, And I just feel, did David make a concerted effort to sort of try to avoid that as much as possible, and keep the humanity in the music as long as possible?
Yeah. David followed his nose. He did what he loved. And, I don't think he was ever pushed around by influences or commercial considerations. He wanted to make things successful, and he had an eye for the hits. But what he did was from the heart.
An eye for the hits.
An eye for the hits. Yeah, he did. He recognized hits. Bruce and I spent a lot of time in the studio because we made demos with every writer we could find.
Now,
Or
can
band
you
we
can
could
you
find.
name some other writer? This is who I wanted, because what you told me in the first interview was that one of your responsibilities was to find cool songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said Takamatsu, and then so who else was? Did you?
A bunch of people you never heard of. Paul Wells was from Kentucky.
These are the kind of people I get off on. Paul Wells.
Yeah.
Did anything ever manifest with him? Did he write?
No, he wrote great songs, but
And you would give him sustenance money, but he would get
Yeah.
no publishing credits or anything like that.
well, he didn't get any songs recorded.
He wrote,
There's no
right.
credits. We didn't steal his name or anything, but he had very good songs. A guy named John Buckley had some very cool songs.
Were you and Bruce? I know Lindley. So many guys used to just, there wasn't the internet. So if you were into some sort of Kentucky fiddler somewhere, you'd go and have to seek them out. Were these guys all locally based, or how would you?
Yeah, they found us.
He found you. And then I think what you said before, amazingly enough, when the money, if and when money started coming in, you divvy out the money. What was the first song or the first that really got that made you think, wow, this is actually going to work, where money started to come in?
Well, it was actually Herbie.
It was this. It was late 70s. I mean, that was not till 77, 78.
It was a long time we didn't make any money.
Dude, that's unbelievable.
I mean, David paid us, but just sustenance.
Right, but you were obviously doing decent work for him. He wouldn't keep you around if you weren't doing good work.
I would hope so. Yeah.
What was going on in like that during that Pointer Sisters time before Herbie was there? I mean, I know Secret of the Bloom was there and stuff that was already entrenched that he had already set up.
Lamb.
Oh, Barbara Moritz.
Yeah, right.
Oh my!
There was another one.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. She could sing.
So when the money came in, how did you? I mean, it was delightful, but how did it change you? I mean, a lot of people would get hung up on, well, I don't know, just sort of. I think sometimes people get a hit and then they want to replicate that over and over and over again. But that to me is not.
If I ever had one that good, I probably would have done it too.
Well, okay. But can you talk about it? How success affected you? If maybe it was a positive thing. I mean, because you obviously weren't starving to death, but you weren't really. You had there were some kind of nothing years there for. I mean, I don't say nothing, but there was not.
We had a lot of nothing years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of flatlining, But then you finally saw something where like serious money came in. How did it affect you?
The first serious money I made was Freeway of Love.
By who?
Aretha Franklin. You remember her?
I just listened to the entire Fillmore West on KJazz yesterday, driving up from the airport. Yeah, absolutely. So that was Freeway of Love, and that was pre-Herbie? That was before Herbie?
No, that was after.
Okay.
That was after. David had hits, but me hits.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Jeffrey Cohen hits. Yeah.
Sorry, not until.
It's fine.
Not until then. Actually, I had some pretty hit-ish songs with Narada.
Talk about
we
them.
We had Angie Bofill, Too Tough.
Wow.
Was a song that that was a song that helped to get Aretha for Narada, because she liked the sound of it, because it reminded her of Jump to It, which she had just done, which actually Narada borrowed from somewhat.
Right. Well, it was tinged with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in there.
That's funny.
He didn't steal it. It was just, anyways. So we had those, and I'm on Your Side, and then that was also covered by Jennifer Holliday.
It's fine. Yeah. Talking to Jeffrey Cohen here over a wonderful lunch. I'm looking forward to diving in, but
more lunch than talk, I'm afraid.
It's fine. So with Herbie, it was that was kind of the first success you had. It was a successful thing, but then the real money was Aretha.
Right.
And then, so how did that? At that point, you had already met your teacher and started your cultivation.
Yes.
And so, I just want you to. How did you handle that? I mean, how did you deal with that? I mean, obviously, maybe it took some pressure off you.
No, nothing much changed.
When did you actually do you continue to write? I mean, you're obviously playing music now, or still continue to play or write. But when did you leave the industry, if at all?
Leave it?
Yeah.
I didn't. It just kind of went away.
What year did it go away for you, or just in general?
It's hard to say. Things slacked off a bit with Narada. For a while, we were writing all the time together, and for whatever reasons, he found other people that he wanted to write with also, and did, and we fell out of the every day we got to write and make some songs thing. It just kind of dissipated some, and he would still call me, and still does call me to work on songs, but not as much, and I had I signed a couple publishing deals with people who were going to hook me up and get me writing with others, and I got paired up with some people, and I even wound up writing, working on a song with, oh, my poor brain, what's her name? The great writer. She wrote every hit. Diane Warren, and she was fantastic. And
You talk about that experience?
yeah, she had a song that she had started, and so wanted. I don't remember exactly what it was. Whether she wanted some verses or the chorus. Whatever,
Right.
And I wrote some things, and one of the things I always liked about my writing, it was the not obviousness of it, and the fact that I sometimes or often came from left field a little bit.
I love it.
To make it interesting somehow, or to get it, put a little twist on it, and all those things that I loved and I did. She was like, no, we can't do this. This is not how Clive wants it. And she was very clear about it and very tuned to it. And eventually we just kind of stopped working because it wasn't. It wasn't a good match. I was still friendly with her. If I bump into her, which I think the last time I did was at a screening of the James Bond thing.
Wow.
And it was nice. She was sweet. But so, anyways, I tried writing with some different people, and in most cases, it wasn't necessarily a good match.
So I guess, how did you sing for your supper when the music sort of went away?
Well, it didn't completely go away, and I still had stuff that was coming up.
Yeah, see, you had plenty
that was in the pipeline.
Right, it's just you weren't maybe as feverishly active or
yeah.
as busy.
Yeah, but there were things there. Stuff with Herbie and stuff that, I don't.
What else did you, after the big one with Herbie in the late 70s, what, in the 80s did you work with, you kept working with Herbie on songs?
Well, he kind of moved away from that and back into,
Instrumental improvisation, yeah.
So there was no place for me in that.
Before I let you go, I really wanted you to tell the story about Moby Great. First of all, Jeffrey Cohen, you played bass on that.
That's right.
But explain, Rubinson. It was they were on Fillmore or San Francisco label.
No, that was Warner Brothers at that time.
Well, okay.
And David went around when they got interested in getting together, which I think was largely sparked by him, but maybe it was coming from other directions too. That's usually how things happen. Anyways, got him signed to Warner Brothers, and realized, knowing them well, because he had worked with them considerably in the early days, that they were never going to just show up at 1 o'clock in the studio and work till 6. It wasn't going to happen.
How many cats were in the band? 5 or
5, I think.
And so they were all on their own.
Yeah.
No time. Yeah. No TikTok time.
No TikTok time. And so he had the brilliant idea of renting a house, which we did down in Santa Cruz and or Boulder Creek, down in that area, and putting in a movable recording studio. Brought down equipment and a board and monitors and the whole thing, and figured sooner or later,
all of them will
he's
be.
going to get them all in one place at one time, and this will be, and then we'll have the place. And he did. He managed to get some songs recorded, and one night he said, "Hey, come on down. Let's see what happens." And I drove down, and as we sat there, they kind of one by one and sometimes 2 by 2 just sort of disappeared. It just off they went, and
Just became you and Rubinson.
they were gone. So he and I were sitting in the studio and laughing and telling jokes and whatever. And Mosley wandered in, and went over and picked up a guitar and said, "Hey, you guys want to hear a song?" And we're like, "Yes!" We're like starving dogs. And so he did "Ode to the Man" at the end of the bar. And we said, "That's fantastic." And David had already started noodling on the piano where he had been sitting. And Mosley looked over at the bass and said, "Yeah, go ahead." I'm like, "Sure." So we made a track. And my playing was very rudimentary. I had played bass for years, and I never got any better than rudimentary, so it fit me perfectly.
Did you play it in Black Swan, or?
Yeah, at one point I did. When we went from 5 down to 4 people, then I moved to bass.
Right. So
I
you
did guitar before,
yeah.
but yeah, I could play. I knew them.
Simple is better too. You don't need.
That's my motto for my bass playing. And so we did, boom, 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 in little dinky piano, and Mosley chugging away on the rhythm guitar, and he sang it, and it was cool, and we all agreed, yeah, that was great. Okay, see ya. And next thing I knew, that was one of the cuts on the record.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean,
Makes a better story than a record.
Well, I mean, just the mere fact. I mean, who knows if the record? Well, I guess. I mean, I have to go look at that record because that is like.
There were a couple good things on it. It was, if you're a real Moby Grape fan, it was kind of disappointing because it didn't rock out as much as there were a couple good.
Yeah, they get overlooked. I mean, Jerry Miller was really like maybe the first rock guitarist in the Bay Area.
People still talk about him.
So many great cats left. Still, we've guys like Haggerty, Bill Champlin, Greg Arico, Michael Shreve, all these beautiful. I mean, I've connected with all of them. I consider them good friends. We are going through very interesting times. How do you try to stay? And what's not your advice, but what would you say to people about maintaining peace and equilibrium at this time? Because I mean,
oh God, yeah, really.
I don't want to sound too lofty. It's just, I mean, I know we talked a little bit about people coming to you with dis-ease and you being able to sort of empty yourself and then help them. But I just, in general, what would be your?
But that's like that. That's not talk therapy in any way.
No way.
It all happens in silence, so it's not like I can sit here and, with a clean conscience and say, well, you just have to, treat the oneness and the, you don't have to do anything. But meditate, get empty. Meditate and get empty. And allow. That Guru Dev used to say, anything that exists has a right to exist. And that's a pretty good place to start from,
So stop trying to push something.
When you have that idea, then the world is okay. And when you're in that space, things tend to come to you. And maybe for me, that goes back to, my childhood.
Yeah, that's right.
But I believe that's so, and I've seen it so much, I have no reason to doubt it, that you don't have to go looking for what you want. You can allow it to come, and in many cases it will.
Just to follow up, why then are you still surprised every time it works?
I don't know, because I'm an idiot.
No, I think that's just like the skepticism or the Jewish, sort of thing.
It's a great question. It's just like,
because I appreciate that. In some ways, for me, it's almost a disbelief. It's a disbelieving until it actually happens again. But you can never convince yourself that it's actually. I guess maybe that's part of the magic of it.
Yeah, it's a Jewish thing. I don't know. You remember Burns and Schreiber? Did you hip to them?
Yeah.
They had the faith healer. He comes up and whatever, the guy like this, and he gives him a hack on the head, and the guy straightens up and he becomes whole.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'm fixed," and Burns says, "No shit." That's kind of, I'm surprised and I'm not surprised at the same time.
Jeffrey Cohen, man, such a great honor to hang with you again, man.
The honor is mine, I assure you. I wish I had more. I had thought of something I was going to tell you about, course.
Well, we can do another fast clip. Yeah, we just cooked for 35 minutes, and I'm pretty hungry, so. Much love.
Yeah, I had my taco.
Yeah, no, we'll do it.
You're going to like that.
Much love to you, man, and we'll do it
Back
again.
at you.
All right.
All right.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.